So what I like about this model is the simplicity. We're looking at the topography of Jerusalem. This is how this city would look like if we peeled off all the layers. According to the Bible, in the Jewish tradition, 3,000 years ago, King David, his son, King Solomon, built the first temple over here. Why? That's a very important question. In the Jewish tradition, this is the place, Hamakom, in the Bible, where everything took place. From the binding of Isaac, right? That's one of the first stories in the Bible, in the book of Genesis. I know that in the Muslim tradition, it is the binding not of Isaac, but of Ishmael, and it takes place in a different place. But when King David chooses the location to build a temple, which his son Solomon will do, it's over here. First temple was destroyed by the Babylonians. Children of Israel were in exile. On the Nehemiah building of the second temple under Persian control, it wasn't as big as the first temple, but it's a temple. The next stories that take place here that are known would be under Hellenistic rule. The Hellenists took over from the Persians, and the Jews are fighting the Hellenists at a certain point. The story of Hanukkah takes place in the second temple. Towards the end of the second temple period, the Romans took over from the Greek. I'm talking about 1st century BC. A local king called Herod decides to enlarge a temple. Just want to show you, he has a slight problem, one of many problems that he had, but I won't go into it. One of the problems here is that the size of the natural hill is not big enough for his temple. So he decides to enlarge the mountain. He does it by cutting off the northern section and using this as his building material. All these stones are used in order to build 4 retaining walls, 144,000 square meters, could hold hundreds and thousands of people on it, and the temple stood on top, not for too long. Because 1st century BC, this was towards the end of the 1st century BC, this was built, and it was destroyed already in the year 70, Common Era, by the Romans. Again, as a result of the Jewish rebellion against the Romans. And the mountain stays in its ruins as far as we know for the next, let's say, 600 years. The city continues to be built, but this stands empty until the early Islamic period, talking about 7th century. Umar ibn al-Khattab enters Jerusalem. He cleans, according to the tradition, he cleans the Temple Mount on his own. Right? He cries and they rebuild this place. And a very famous building is built, Kubat al-Sakha, or the Golden Dome, right? The Dome of the Rock, marking the location of the stone underneath. In the Muslim tradition, this is where Muhammad ascended to heaven after a night's journey, after Laylat al-Isra wa al-Mi'raj. Right? So this is the story. The Al-Aqsa was built slightly later on the southern edge. This building still stands from the year 691 in the same location. What happens over the years is that more and more buildings are added, especially down in the valley over this. Basically, the old city of today is filling up this valley. So the western wall is covered, most of it is covered. The part that we can see is a small frame section, relatively to the size, of course, of the wall, about 60 meters out of 488. And the rest over here in the southwestern corner, excavations that were held in the 20th century and mostly after 1967, the Six-Day War. But this is the Western Wall Plaza as we know it. And we are here, basically just in the tunnels along the Western Wall. We're not underground, we're under the houses of the old city.